You ever realize how life really tells you things straight? The real stuff, the things that shake your soul, they don't come as facts. They come dressed up. They come dressed up in symbols, in stories, in moments that feel way too familiar to be random, and that's the metaphoric. And if you're paying attention, that's where the metaphysical speaks. See, when people hear the word metaphysics, they think philosophy books, they think big words, right, and abstract ideas. But metaphysics isn't some academic thing. Metaphysics is personal. Metaphysics is the question behind the question. Not just what's happening, but why it's happening. Not just what exists, but what holds up what exists. It's the foundation beneath the house. It's the energy beneath the face. So what's the metaphor? The metaphor is how the unseen chooses to speak to the seen. And that's how spirit breaks the silence. Now, ancient people understood this. They didn't separate the mystical from the material. See, the river Nile wasn't just water. It was a living vein. It was the spine of Kemet. Osiris wasn't just a god. He was the journey through death, ego death, into the higher self. Same with the Hinduism Shiva. Shiva was not just destruction, but he was representative of the clearing of what's false. The Vedic fire, Agni, it wasn't just about heat. It was about transformation. That internal burning we all feel when we're waking up. But here's what happened. Modern times came, science came. No, don't get me wrong. Science has its place. But it started naming things and stopped listening to them. We gained data, but we lost meaning. We gained explanations, but we lost wisdom. But there's a twist to this story, because even science, if you go deep enough in science, it starts to look just like mysticism. If you look at things like quantum physics, the observer affects the observed. Things exist in potential until they are actually witnessed, waveform into particles, and that's not far from metaphysics. That's like metaphysics with a lab coat on. But let's get back to the metaphor, because this is where it gets real. If you've ever asked yourself, why me? You're actually in the realm of the metaphoric, because the things that's happening in your life, whatever you're experiencing, might not just be about that thing. That heartbreak, for instance. That heartbreak might actually be your ego breaking open. That delay you had. It might actually be divine timing forcing you into alignment. The illness you're dealing with might be suppressed truth, asking to be heard. The characters in the sacred texts, in the Bible, in the Gita, and whatnot, they weren't just people. They were templates. The Christ wasn't just about the man called Jesus. That was the Christ nature within you. The Buddha is the mind at peace. Even the serpent in Genesis, if you look deeper, yes, it's temptation, but it's also wisdom. It's DNA, it's Kundalini, and because everything's layered. We were, however, taught to take things literally, but life doesn't speak in the literal. Life speaks in symbols, and dreams, and synchronicity, deja vu. Everything is all code, but we forgot how to read it, and that's the real tragedy. We went from seeking meaning to chasing answers. We scroll, we consume, we analyze, but we don't contemplate. What if life isn't just happening to you, but happening through you? What if every single thing you're facing is actually a metaphor? A metaphor pointing you back to something that you have forgotten. What if Your entire journey is a sacred myth playing itself out in real time, because at the end of the day, life isn't just about what happens. Life is about what it actually means. And meaning lives in the metaphysical, and it speaks in the metaphor. So stop reacting to life and start interpreting it. Because life doesn't just talk, life teaches. But the language is metaphoric, whilst the message is metaphysical.